We're back on the early edge, and we're a couple days away from game three, but may as well get a start on lines that are already moving. Mikey B, I'm going to start with you. Let's start with the side. Again, this was 4.5. Now we look at BetMGM. It's 5.5, 228.5 point total, which we'll get to in a second. Talk to me about a side. Are you laying the 5.5 on the road for OKC, or are you taking the points?
I'd take the points and go Pacers at plus 5.5. Talked about how the Thunder are just 4-3 on the road in the playoffs. They won game three in the first round against the Grizzlies by 6 points. None of their other road wins have been by more than 5 points. So I think this Indiana atmosphere is going to be electric. The Pacers are going to be fired up. And I do think this is a close one that comes down to the last couple minutes.
Mackenzie, the relative road woes for the Oklahoma City Thunder that Mikey B just pointed out, it's pretty compelling. I know you're big on OKC, but you did mention earlier you kind of liked the 5.5 for the Pacers, right?
Yeah, I think OKC still wins the game, but I think they could keep it close here again. Honestly, even the first half for the Pacers to cover as well, or Pacers money line, the first half could be a good look. I mean, after the first half of game one, where Indiana turned it over, 20 times, the Pacers have actually committed fewer turnovers than the Thunder. So I think the turnover battle that typically OKC dominates, I don't know if they'll be able to do that so much here. And even the 3-point numbers too, like you look at Indiana at home, I mean, they shot 52%. 41% in those last two home games versus the Knicks. And you look at the Thunder only shooting 35% on the road, which is pretty low relative to their home splits. So just a play on the splits here, but I do think OKC does take it home.
Mike McClure, did they convince you, or are we not laying what was 4.5 and now 5.5 for OKC?
Yeah, I'll be on the Oklahoma City side here. You know, an interesting spot when you get to a number like this is like, what point would I flip to the other side? To me, it would be 7 to 7.5. I think there's a massive difference between those numbers. But thinking logically about just the way some of these games go, late game situation, I really think that 2 full possessions is the appropriate number when you're talking about a market consensus on Oklahoma City essentially being an 11-point road or home favorite, 11.5. To me, that still translates to around 2 full possessions on the road. So I think that Indiana, while they're a good team, obviously, and they've had some success from 3 in their own building, I think they're being given a little too much credit here. And it mostly just comes down to being a key number and a key position here. We don't think about key numbers all that often in the NBA like we do in the NFL, but I do think in this particular matchup and where these two teams rate, I think 6 is a really, really key number. So I would be laying anything under 6 with Oklahoma City.
Mike, I want to stick with you and continue on to kind of your fade of the Indiana Pacers as it relates to game 3. We're looking at totals, but we're also including here team totals. You like an Indiana Pacers team total under, correct?
I do. 112.5. I think that's an interesting number. When you think about 113 points, while I get that this is not a standard physical, slower half court game, 113 is a big ask in the NBA finals still, in my opinion. So that's why I like to look at this one, because I think that there are many paths to victory here that even include an outright win for the Pacers, certainly could include a cover. I want to speculate a little bit on the Pacers style of play and path to winning a game. I don't think it's scoring 125 points. I think it's a slower, lower scoring game, particularly on their home floor. So to me, at 113, the number that's needed, I just think there are so many paths to cashing this ticket, regardless of the outcome of the game.
Mackenzie, we're sticking with the under theme, but we're going full game here.
Yeah, a lot of it actually has to do with the Pacers going under their team total there. A lot of the reasons Mike mentioned. I mean, they were able to stay in that first game because of the offensive rebounds they had, and OKC made a very conscious effort to eliminate those. And again, if you're not getting all of these offensive rebounds, they only had 7 in game 2. It's really hard to hit some of these higher team totals here. So I do think we see some regression from the Pacers. And then the OKC bench, who I give their flowers to. I mean, they were 10 of 21 from 3-point range. Like, to think they're going to do that exactly again on the road, I think it's a tall, tall order. And as we were mentioning before, just as we get deeper into the series, I think this should be a close game because I like the Pacers spread. I just think the defense does start to lock in through all 4 quarters this time.
Mikey B, I'm not super fond of the fun police over here, Mike McClure and Mackenzie Brooks, talking about unders here, unders there, unders everywhere. Do you have an over for me?
Yeah, I'll take the over. It's a lean on the over 228.5. And here's why. So at home during the playoffs, the Thunder have allowed an average of 99.8 points per game. In their 7 road games, they allowed at least 113 points 5 times. Their defense is not as locked down on the road as it is at home. So I'll lean over. Let's inject some fun into this game and these under picks. Boom. Let's take it over.
Thank you, Mikey B. All right, let's talk about, actually, we're going to get to some overs in a second. So, Mackenzie, you have a chance to redeem yourself here because we're going to the player prop department, and I do believe you have an over.
Yeah, I have a star player over points. Like I talk about a woman of the people. That's as fun as it gets here. We're going with Tyrese Halliburton over the 17.5. Has 17 last night. And we have to remember he's literally taken 0 free throw attempts through this series. So I have to imagine from a coaching staff standpoint, there are some adjustments that are made there. I would like to think he can get to the line. And I think everyone's realized, okay, the way to beat this OKC team is just three-point shooting and volume of that three-point shooting. So I just think getting hot from three-point range, maybe it's over the 2.5 threes for Tyrese if you like that better, but I think that'll be a big part of his game. I think he'll try to get to the line, and this number is not great overall, especially on the road, but at home he's 26 and 19 to this number, 19.8 average. So averaging almost 20 points at home. Again, think the Pacers keep it close, hope they get hot from deep, and I think he'll be a big part of that.
Mike McClure, you like this as well?
I do. Yeah. I think the number should be 19.5. You look at Halliburton, and this may not be necessarily correlated with them going on to win the game. I think it could be even correlated with the under. I think for Halliburton to get up some of these shots, it is going to take more shot clock, more possession time, a little slower pace. But I think he does that. And I do think he's able to get to the free throw line. He's never going to be like SGA, attempting 10 free throws in a game, but I think 4 to 6 is very, very possible here. And I think that he just really embraces that role of being the superstar playing on the home floor. So I think that it's very likely we see a 20-point outing from Tyrese Halliburton.
Yeah, some foul calls, especially when you're at home. I mean, it's just one of those situations where the star gets some calls, maybe some extra calls, and OKC gets some extra calls called against them. Mikey B, you're also on an over.
Yeah, Miles Turner over 13.5 points. He had 15 points in game 1. 16 points in game 2. The Thunder going away from using Holmgren and Hartenstein together a lot has made Turner's lives a lot easier. During the regular season, Turner averaged 16.3 points per game at home this season compared to 14.8 on the road. Turner scored at least 15 points in 6 of 8 home playoff games. We only need 14 here, so I like the over.
All right, we're going to go rapid fire right now on maybe the simplest question of all time. It's the MVP question. Going into this series, what was SGA? Like minus 600, minus 550 to win the MVP. Mike, I'm going to start with you. This is SGA, and we're not betting it because there's no value, right?
Yeah, it's SGA, and I would say he's minus 500 here, minus 550 for the series. There should be no difference. If anything, you should be laying more for SGA to win the MVP finals MVP. Considering where the series is, I think that if they somehow lose and he doesn't get hurt, he's winning this even if they lose the finals.
That's interesting. Mackenzie Brooks, you agree, right?
Yeah, I really want it to be my guy, Jalen Williams. He's up to 48-1, which still feels crazy for the second best player on OKC to be 48-1, but I unfortunately agree with the situation.
Mikey B, it is a situation. Like there's nothing we can do with this, right?
Yeah, I don't really have anything great to add. Maybe if Alex Caruso scores 20 points every game and plays lockdown defense and something like that crazy. No, there's nothing here. It's SGA all the way.
Chet Holmgren had a game. What if Indiana comes back and wins? Who's going to win the MVP? Forget it. That's probably not going to happen. All right. Mike Barter, thank you very much. Mackenzie Brooks, thank you very much. We'll see you later in the